Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. The USA Global TV and Radio Network has truly a global audience. This is red.olaughlin, and we're on the Wise Ones today. And very shortly, we're going to be joining a good friend of mine, Carl Loop. And trust me, you're going to have a very, very, very good time today with Carl, because he is just an amazing fount of information and can help your life entirely. Immediately following the show is my next show called the Talking Heads. I'll be making a presentation. It's supposed to be number 6 out of 6 on weight management. However, like everything else, just like with cancer, when I was doing the cancer program, I had 6 planned and we ended up with 8. Well, right now there's 7 planned, but this is the first time I'm mentioning it to anybody. So next week, there'll be my final conclusion on weight management. The Talking Heads is a place where we get a chance to talk about health and wellness, pick up areas for awareness, become a little bit better educated in some, so that when you go to the doctor, you have some really good questions to ask and better understand what the answers are. So that's coming. But right now we have Carl Loop. Carl's here in Houston with me. He's been a friend for a number of years. We've appeared on various shows here in Houston. I think the last one was the PDN productivity. Anyways, part of the West Chamber of Houston Commerce. I think what PDN is now. Anyway, regardless, let's go ahead and get Carl to join us here. Hey, Carl.
Hey, Red. Hello.
Howdy. Carl, I'm going to let you do the primary introduction of yourself, because you do cover a lot of different areas. And I know the last presentation you did, you gave us a small little section of that. But I want you to be the star today. So take the initial conversation on who is Carl Loop, and let's kind of figure out which road we want to go down, or roads as the case may be. So would you...
Sure. Well, right on. My name is Carl Loop. I work with leaders to have greater success by creating collaborative teams of engaged individuals. My expertise is goals and goal setting. And my tagline is reliably achieve big goals faster. I'm originally from Virginia and came down here a little over 15 years ago. I had 2 goals. One was to stop blowing my horn every day in agitation, almost every day. I was a highly stressed, on edge kind of personality. And the second thing is that I could have just one happy thought a day. So I had the journey to go from kind of agitated to joyful, and from, not feeling a happy thought to now, having happy thoughts before I even get out of bed in the morning. So that is what life is. It's a journey, and it's the greatest adventure of life is your life, the whole life.
When I first got involved with motivational and inspirational speaking, those kinds of things, and the kinds of things I was hearing back then was what the typical 18-year-old hears no 80,000 times by the time he's 18 years of age. 70-80% of everything we hear, see, feel, and do on a daily basis is all negative. That it's not hard to believe that there might be one of those things that you really and truly can't get a happy thought in your mind. So tell me how you made that transition.
Well, first of all, it was a transition of self-awareness. So it was, that's the beginning of your journey, as you start to be aware of, more and more that you're sort of you paint yourself into a mental corner, where your life has certain sort of signs of success, but maybe you're not fulfilled. or maybe even you're, I call, spiritually bankrupt. And so I set about to learn how to have great fortunes and fullest life, and not just the first part. Most people have one or the other or neither. And I wanted to have both, great fortunes and fullest life. So that was the first thing, was self-awareness. And I guess as a quick message here, I could get right into some content. And you could break your perspective into three categories, or you could take a look at three different perspectives. Let's do that. One is life is happening to you. The other is life is happening through you, and the last one is that life is happening for you. Now, the first one, which one are you going to reliably, which one are you going to achieve the most of your goals and the most of your positive progress through? Is it life happening to you, through you, or for you? And it's pretty obvious that in my condition, a lot of life was happening, to me, not in a very happy way, in a very negative way. The glass was always half empty. I felt like I was on a gerbil wheel. I had all the trappings of success, big home, multiple cars, land, and even waterfront homes and so forth. And all those were meaningful at a point. And then, they started to matter less and less and less, because the inner spirit of my life, my human spirit, was not being developed and filled. My tank was not being filled. So you could look at your performance in two ways. One is the mechanism, sort of the machine that runs that runs your performance, and the other is the gas, the fuel that fuels your machine. And I had really no gas or fumes, or was totally out of gas, and therefore I was seeking a newer reality, a newer perspective. I wanted to shift from life happening to me, even though it was successful, had all the signs of success, to a life happening through me first, and then a life happening for me. And that's a design process. Again, it begins with self-awareness.
Most of us, the life happens to us and we just accept it and keep going on. We don't even realize there's a better world out there. And I was doing a little bit of research on you. I noticed you had a Bachelor of Fine Arts, and you had a mathematics degree before you got your MBA. That seems like an interesting combination. But the part that I was really curious about was that as I was reading one of your blogs, you talked about you needed clarity in your life. And when the clarity came, it says, I love chemistry. It's the first love of my life. But I wasn't able to practice it until literally a few years ago, because I got an invitation to Vietnam and a bunch of other things in my life. But you love photography, but you said it's not going to get me where I want to go. And a lot of us, we cling on to, we won't let go of those things that we love for whatever reason, in order to get to that next step along the way to achieving our goal. So you gave up photography and you went in another direction, or you honed your direction, maybe is a better way of saying it. So you had some skills. You obviously had some mentors, or you're reading books or seeing people or going to things, and you say, hey, I can do this. So that transition from just accepting life to wanting something, to knowing how to do it, and then actually implementing things, that must have been a pretty big step, or multiple steps in your life.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Red. And the common thread for me is that I'm a lifelong learner. My top, Clifton strengths are learner, strategic, command, futurist, and visionary. Okay. So there, it's obvious that photography was a part of my life. And actually photography was a part of my life very early on, from when I was about 12 years old. When my grandfather died, he willed me his camera. It was an old film camera, and it got me started, and I really got engaged and passionate about it. It was both creative and technical, which, as you've seen in my degrees, fine arts degree and BS in math, I am kind of that way. I have both sides. I'm sort of ambidextrous thinker, I guess. And that rounds me out, because I'm like a visionary type of thinker. But that lifelong learner thread has had me travel in multiple directions. I've lived overseas. Yes, I have 3 degrees. I've had 6 businesses that I built and created, or I created and built on my own. One of them was a 7-figure staffing and recruiting business. And, I've had a lot of life's experiences. I call myself a lifologist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just a lifologist. If I draw on a background of a lot of both creative and analytical experiences, one of the businesses I owned was a fine arts business and framing gallery. So, yeah, I've been fortunate to have a lot of different experiences. And when I was walking up the stairs back in 1984, about to get my first degree in fine arts, as I was a senior walking up the stairs sometime in the year 1984, about a month or two from graduating, I convinced myself there was no way to make a living in my photography only. And so I walked away from a passion, a drive, an anchor that I had had in my life, and I let my learning lead me to another, my learning passion lead me to another area, and that was mathematics at Virginia Tech, and then an MBA. So started one of my most powerful businesses while I was in my MBA degree. So, that's there's a lot of life. So there was a lot of times when my life was happening to me, and I was just sort of I felt like I was a jellyfish, just sloshing around as a victim to circumstances. But learning has always been a through me thing, because that's an alignment for me. That's a passion of mine. And so, I see the world through the solutions I can bring, life happening through me. And my passion is to build others, because in building others, you build yourself too. And a leader, I guess, Red, tell me what you think, but a leader is, kind of the definition of a leader to me is somebody who creates positive change for themselves and others. And so, I've been able to do that. I've been able to help as a consultant. I've been able to help multiple businesses, people buy businesses where they worked. I've helped people, give presentations, have conversations to be on the board of multi-billion-dollar companies, executives. I've helped executives give presentations where they literally, created buy-in to groups of hundreds, if not thousands of people. So that is my drive. My drive has always been to build others, build myself, and build others. And I've helped multiple people get degrees, accomplish their degrees that they were stuck in and struggling in. So that is life happening through me is that. I'm a builder of others. And life happening for me is when I get to speak, and when I get to consult, and when I get to align with my design of making an impact. And, that's the place of great fortunes and fullest life that, as I said, is my mission.
Okay, when you look at a leader, they're generally working through other people, or the production, the activity is through others, and everybody's individual. Everybody has their own egos and everything else. So when you're working with the company versus, let's say, helping somebody, an individual, you have lots of extra dynamics there. Yeah, you're helping this either one or two senior people in the company. Maybe it's the owner and everybody doesn't have a say. It doesn't matter, but you have many things that change, and you may start out and then all of a sudden there's a pandemic, or you start out and then whatever market you're in, oil, for instance, here in the Houston, just goes, downward so fast you can't keep up with it. So you're working with somebody or a company, and you're going down this path, and then all of a sudden something changes. First question is, how do you get people, companies that want to improve that you're working with? And then have you had any situations where in the middle you just had to step back and says, we really need to change things?
Well, a leader realizes that resilience and adaptability is part of the equation, and failure is part of the equation. Absolutely. And you have to reset, reimagine, and re-energize sometimes. And, that being able to adapt quickly is a sign of a leader. First of all, being able to adapt is a sign of leader. Being able to recover from failure is a sign of a leader. Knowing that there will be failure and learnings is a sign of a leader. All these things, are just part of the journey. And leaders have to reset often and re-engage, and recognize when others are sort of in a slump and need to reset and re-engage. Right. And so the idea of creating collaborative teams of engaged individuals is to create goals around, I have a whole, clarity, commitment, conviction, and all that process. but it is to set collaborative goals for the team, like how you help and mentor each other. That's huge. A leader is going to be so much more successful when they have collaborative goals of people supporting, mentoring, and trading, sharing trade secrets and that kind of thing, because they're pulling together. And then also you want to have individual personal growth goals. Individual personal growth goals. You want a person to be challenged, not just externally. You want a person to be motivated and engaged, and have buy-in, not just externally by, of course, the salary, the bonus, or whatever, the external factors, but also internally, because purpose, if you can bring purpose to a person's life, purpose-driven performance way outpaces pay the bill kinds of performance.
Yeah.
So somebody has a purpose and a connection, about what they do. And yeah.
You're right about the team part of it. I know when I'm hiring, managers, engineers, doesn't matter. I want more, I assume to some degree, the technical competence, and I'd go down that road, but I want to know more about their interpersonal skills and how they react within. So I do a lot of, how would you handle this situation kind of thing?
Yeah.
Because people problems destroy just about everything going on. You spend more time with them, they're frustrating. Anyway. And so
that's speaking of that, Red, that's part of the life happening through you. You have to learn how to manage your emotions, manage your positivity, or let's say leverage your positivity and manage the negative emotions. I said that I wanted to have just one happy thought a day. I mean, my emotions were overpowering me, totally overpowering me. And during that journey from, just totally agitation to living a life of joy and aliveness, so a lady came up to me not long ago and said, "You're one of the most positive people." She actually said, "You are the most positive person I know," which was that was like a major, validation or, just a fantastic remark. And she asked me what, I do quotes a lot. So she asked me, give me a quote today, because I'm feeling kind of down. And I just told her, well, when you live to love, you love to live. And she called her husband over there, and I told him, and they both got a little boost right there on the spot.
When people ask me how I am, my rote answer all the time is excellent as always. And that came from my mentor about over 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And my answer prior to that was somewhat reasonable. And
okay.
But the issue is the fact that after about 30 days, I didn't even have to think about it. I just, excellent is, and it just stayed with me. And then what happened, I noticed one day that it wasn't such a good day. I'm driving to work. It doesn't matter, but I'm just not 100%. And somebody asked me how I am. Excellent as always. And I could literally feel in my body right then a change mentally. I could feel it. And I said, whoa. And then check that one off, because I want to remember that. And about once or twice a year, every other year, I might get, really down for some reason. And somebody asked, well, how are you doing, Red? Excellent as always. And I can feel it again. I can actually feel a change coming through my body when my body is not in alignment with my brain and my voice. Yeah. And so that when I say literally excellent as always, I am. I feel that way. Everything that's going on is down that path, and there's total alignment in that. But if you just...
Well, that's good. So a lot of people know how to, or let's say some people know that they're triggered, their anger gets triggered by a certain thing. Well, that's cool, because you know how to trigger your aliveness, your positivity. So, and that's the shift from life happening to me, where you start seeing things like, life happening through me. That's so powerful. And then life happening for me. Now, when you are very aligned, I say the biggest fear I have is to live an ordinary life. And I say the biggest dream I have is to be wildly paid and consulted with for just being me. And when you're just aligned and getting value, people are getting value from you and compensating you for that value, for you just being you, because you're helping them be more powerful and building them, then that's life happening for you. That's such powerful alignment. And that's and work-life integration, that's what I'm talking about here is work-life integration. You're not one person at work and one person at home. You're starting to bring that. That's the formula for life happening to you. You know, all of a sudden you're missing meals, you're missing your family, you don't get home on time, life's happening to me. But work-life integration is when, you know, you're in connection with, you know, things that you are intrinsically, your internal joys and happiness and passion is connected with your external rewards. So great fortunes and fullest life. That's life happening for you.
That intrinsic value is so important. Just like that person came up and says, you are the most positive person. That probably kept you going for a week or more, because
that added fuel to me. That's right.
That just goes right here and just is concreted in. And because there are some things that we don't need the compensation for. Just that little pat on the back, that recognition, whatever it is, that's enough to keep us going for a long, long time. And
absolutely,
if we don't recognize what it is, or we never even try to find out, we're missing a lot, because it's there. But as you say, we need some clarity in our life. So how would you help somebody get clarity in their lives?
Well, first I would talk about, I have a thing called a passport session. And you know what a passport does is it takes you to a new place, right? So, you know, I have a thing called a passport session. It just kind of goes like this. This is sort of the discovery process. You know, what are words that describe you now? One word, or maybe one or two word, you know, 2-word phrases, or one word just all alone. Like, you know, a lot of times I get from people stressed, overwhelmed, you know, run over, or disconnected. You know, a lot of people get to a certain place in their life where they don't have any friends. You know, they've lost their friends. You know, they've given up everything in their life toward the drive of an external reward, that they've lost all the connectivity to who they are and to other people and so forth. So basically, that's the first step is, you know, what are one words that describe you now? And then the second step, we're harvesting words. See, the next step is what are words that describe where you want to be, or a hero that you admire. I say that because sometimes when you say words you want to be, that kind of people can't quite get there, or it's not immediate for them. So I say, well, what about a hero that you admire? And, you know, so then they may something like driven, passionate, alive, open, expanded, you know, whatever their words are. And then I say sometimes, you know, what are words that describe you as a child? And a lot of times those are kind of similar to the hero, you know, alive, unconstrained, uncompromised, bold, you know, those kind of things. You know, I was a very bold kid. You know, I used to, I cared about people a lot when I was a kid. And one time I went down, a lady, her husband had died. And I was, I think 7 or 8 years old. And I walked down the street on my own. My parents found me, and they tell me the story later, you know, that I'd gone down there to console her, you know. So I was very compassionate when I was a kid, empathetic. And so anyways, we take these words in this passport session and we start creating an I am statement. And my I am statement is I am creating peace, power, and prosperity by accelerating high achievers to significant success and wholehearted fulfillment. So that's my I am and my mission statement. And then we start to say, well, let's start looking at goals that will, you know, goals from all areas, not just financial, emotional, but maybe emotional, or leadership goals, or freedom goals, you know, whatever it is, you know, that has a gap. We start looking for that and start developing a roadmap to create that greatest, you know, great fortunes and fullest life, or significant success and wholehearted fulfillment. So that's where I start usually with people. It's, you know, it's a conversation, because, you know, a lot of people may stop asking questions like, you know, or they may be asking questions that are pretty negative. Like, is this all there is? Is this all life is? Is this all I got? And another one that really burns in a lot of people's brains, I know it burned in my brain, was, what did I do wrong? The world of happening to me, right? What did I do wrong? And because, you know, I had so many things. I had many things, you know, externally, physical things, but I didn't have a lot of the support, the nurturing things, the adventurous things, the friends, and so forth. So
it's like on Maslow's triangle, you end up all those things at the bottom, the physical things, but then as you start getting up to the top, these are the things we don't think about when we're worried about all the stuff at the bottom. And so
Well,
as you
that's the
start,
life happening to you. The standing state, or let's say the default state for a person in the place of life happening to me, is usually disturbed about the past and anxious about the future.
I
That's
agree.
you hear that? So that's the standing place of life happening to me, and we have to get to a better place, right? So I want to take them on a journey, and it is a journey, and you need a guide. Often you need a guide or a mentor or an executive coach, whatever it is, to help you slay the dragons you're going to meet along the way. And a lot of the dragons are right here in your own head. Again, like, what did I do wrong? You're beating yourself down, painted yourself into a mental corner, or things like that. Weren't your fuel is drained. You're out of gas.
Usually when you go to bed at night and you can't sleep because there's that one thought that keeps popping up, whatever it is, and it may change over time. That is usually a clue that that part is enough of an issue in your life. You need to do something with it. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. And that's how a lot of people live their life, right? Is reacting to the bad circumstance. So, they have trouble, they have a problem. So they figure out how not to have that problem. And that's the life of reactiveness. And it's sort of managing your life, but it's not really leading your life. A manager sort of solves the day's problems, right? But a leader sort of creates strategies that eliminate the problem altogether.
Yeah, but sometimes you have a problem and you worry about it so much you have no control over it, but it's there. And regardless, you allow it. It's like I talked about. Everybody has the stress. We all have the same thing, regardless of whether it's weather, politics, finances, relationships. But it's what you hold on to and don't let go. That's the part that creates a problem. And so if you're trying to solve a problem that you have no control over, you need some clarity in what you can in fact do. And I think that's what you're bringing to the equation is, let's seriously take a look at what you have control over and what you can do and within a certain frame of time. So that's it. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to get a grip and then an action plan to solve it, because you don't want to feel run over all the time. And even better and bigger than that is you want to start developing a practice of intentional things you can do to design your, to start designing and leading your life, not just reacting in your life. So, and it's a different practice. A practice of survival is a whole different thing than a practice of thriving. A practice of building an internal practice of positivity. And look, I'm not saying life doesn't have struggles. I'm not saying that. Einstein had a saying. He said, you can look at life as if nothing's a miracle or as if everything's a miracle. And, that's a black and white, far extreme left, far extreme right. And there's a journey and for me, I see it as a continuity between it. And that continuity is, nothing's a miracle is the everything happening to me life. And then the next step is through me life. And then the next thing is for me life. And, things can happen for you. They really can, like effortlessly. But consistency in the practice is what helps that happen. If you want to meet somebody or be with somebody or build a business, I've built 6. If you want to recover from a divorce, I've hit ground zero. I went down to, a divorce, custody battles, and a hurricane hit my house all within 1 year of moving to Texas, all within the first year I moved here. So, I've certainly experienced the ground zero version of life and how to crawl out of that. But like I say, that's a journey.
You had this thing that I was looking at a while back. It said, Mondays reimagined, master your Monday, win the week. How did that develop?
Well, a lot of people, actually myself included at one time, a shocking number of people, some studies show as large as 80% or more, dread Mondays. They dread Mondays, because it's the place. Monday is like you're like a crash test dummy. You're having a great weekend and then like a crash test dummy into Monday. For a lot of people, it's like, they crash into Monday and they start dreading it on Sunday. So basically they only have, maybe Saturday as a day off, because Sunday just builds the dread. It's just a day to build dread. So, I wanted to offer comments, optimism, positivity, direction for people to learn how to reimagine their Monday. Monday's reimagined, and it goes to, it's a context, creating a new context for the week, and the context is kind of like to you, through you, or for you, or even the context is how you set the week, or how you start the week sets the week. And so I'll give them some tools and strategies and quotes for that. Yeah.
And when you have your coworkers dreading Monday and they're talking about it on Monday and you're showing up at work on Monday, a lot of that bleeds over. You don't want it, but it's there. And we talk in business about, well, it's hump day, it's Wednesday, everything's downhill. And then thank God it's Friday, TGIF.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we have that Monday approaching again. And I had a job where I was involved with putting military units in Bahrain and over in Korea on a regular basis. I had to take Thursdays. Every Thursdays, I didn't do anything else in the office other than that long-range planning for the events, the deployments, everything that was going on. And so to me, taking one day a week or a month to sit down and say, hey, I need something for me long-term. That I happened to have because the dynamic, I had 11 units reporting to me, and I had to take care of each of those on a fairly dynamic basis. But for ourselves, we never do that. Why?
Well, it's easy to be a machine in life. It's easier to be a machine than a unique. It's easier to be a copy or a version of something else, like what our parents thought we should be, or our friends, or so forth. It's always easier to be a copy of something else because we get rewarded for it. If your friend gets a nice car, then you get, he gets all the oohs and ahs. Wow, look at that great car. I know you like cars, Red. And then if you get a car, you get all those oohs and ahs. And so you're starting to get right on that sort of gerbil wheel of sort of the copy others and be like others, because we want to belong, However, it's fulfilling for a while, but there's a time when something else calls you. There's a time where you say, I want to get more out of my life. I want to have more passion, more hope, more joy, more whatever those positivity words are. And you start to take a look, you realize, you know what? Success is not one dimensional, and not everybody. So success, well, basically, and success is unique. It's not one dimensional, and it's not, one size fits all. So we start having people, people start digging in on that. They start to, start going instead of from the outside in, they start going from the inside out. Who am I? Who am I outside of what I do? What would grab me and I would do if I weren't paid for? What would grab me that I would do because it's in alignment with who I am? What would grab me and that I would do passionately and with commitment and devotion that would just light up my spirit, And so we have some more joy in our Mondays, for instance, and so we have some more joy in our life. What can we give? What kind of gratitude can we express? So there's a whole nother. There's really like like Mark Twain said, the two most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you learned why. The day that you discover why you were born. I know this sounds a little bit high in the sky and maybe blue sky or whatever, but it's at some point in our lives, we all want to learn how to express our individuality, both professionally and personally, or even better, have both of them connected, personally and professionally.
Winning on Mondays, if you had to help our audience here today, what are 2 or 3 things you could say, this is something you should think about, consider, plan? Yeah. Why don't you give us some hints that somebody can take away today, and next Monday, they'll be a little bit better prepared for the week.
You bet. So here's 3 thoughts. Number 1, plan your Monday success on Friday. Just give yourself maybe 1 or 2 or 3 things that are wins for you when you hit the ground, when you show up to work on Monday. Maybe showing up on time would be a win. There's a commander of the Navy SEALs. He gives a big talk on YouTube, and he talks about making your bed in the morning because that's your first win. So create some sort of success you're going to achieve right away on Monday morning, but do it on Friday. Be intentional, because see, that starts to kick in your intentionality. So that's one. A second thing is, when you're driving, instead of reacting and responding like I used to do on the road and blowing my horn, trying to optimize and beat this and beat that, think of things you're grateful for. May sound corny, but think of things you're grateful for. And by the way, nobody has success alone. They may act like they did, but nobody does. They didn't build the roads they drive on. They didn't build the car they're driving in. They didn't build probably the house that they're living in. I mean, everybody has helped to create things, including success. So express gratitude. I've called my friend. If you haven't, and by the way, if you haven't heard from a friend in a while and you feel the silence is deafening, call that person and check on him or her. So start getting outside of your own head and all your own cares and concerns that are just churning away and are in a deep groove, being played again and again and again, and just try to interrupt that pattern by reaching out to somebody else. So that's 2. So wins, be grateful and reach out to others. And 3, write down, your top 3 priorities for Monday, either on Friday or on Monday morning. The first thing you wake up, your top 3 priorities, and the others list them as bonuses. If you've got, 4 or 5, but really try to capture those top 3 priorities and don't waver from them if at all possible. I know there's adapt and adjust, but if at all possible, stick to the focus. And then at the end of the day, and then actually congratulate yourself for writing those 3 things down, because by the way, when you write things down, they're more than 2 times likely to happen. And if you write them down and call somebody and tell them those 3 goals, that's a compounding effect even more. That multiplies it even more. So those are 3 things. The win orientation, the gratefulness for others, and maybe the top 3 priorities for Monday, and call somebody and tell them about them. There you go.
Carl, you used a word there when you're starting out, intentional.
Yeah.
When a person intends to do something, it's different than I want to do it. I need to do it, because want and need are verbs that connect with our conscious mind, which has no control over what we do. Okay. But when you intend to do something, that it has a different impact on our subconscious brain. And so now we're talking to the controller in our life, our subconscious mind. And so that's a really big thing when you intend to do something versus I got to get the stuff done next week, and you write it down, because you're talking to your brain that's here, but not in control of everything. It's just here. But anyway, I see we're almost here at the end. So who's a really good client for you? What value do you add? How do people get in touch with you?
Sure. Well, again, I help leaders build others and build themselves through creating collaborative teams of engaged individuals. And it's a conversation about, setting goals and being intentional, and goals beyond just, so many phone calls a day or whatever like that. Those are good. Those are smart goals. But even smarter goals develop, goals that help you, have things happening for you, help the world, happening for you goals.
So whether the company is a one-person entrepreneurship, or you have a half a dozen senior level executives working for you, the basic need is there. It doesn't matter. And that's something that you help people with, that goal setting, getting it done faster, making sure it gets done. That's the reliability part of it. I see you're also a keynote speaker. So are these the topics that you also talk about?
Absolutely. Work-life integration, resilience, personal growth and development, Gen Y, Gen Z, multi-generational, multinational. Multinationals, a very interesting group to work with for, to create collaborative teams of engaged individuals. Also, family businesses are very interesting to work with to help create collaborative teams of engaged individuals. some really interesting clients I've had in those areas.
How do you want people to contact you?
Well, my email is there somewhere on the screen, I think, carl@carlloop.com. I'm also on LinkedIn if you'd like to check me out there. And, reach out. And you'll see my phone number if you go to my website, carlloop.com. And, reach out. We can discuss having a passport session to take you to your new place of being an intentional leader with collaborative teams and engaged individuals.
Look, for those people on our audio audience only, Carl Loop, it's not a K, but a CARL, Carl Loop, LOOP. So carlloop.com. That's carl@carlloop.com. Carl, I really and truly appreciate you taking time out today to be with us. I think you shared just an amazing amount of information, especially with the winning on Monday. That's always something that everyone can use, whether you're retired or not.
Yeah.
Because I know that if it's not written down, it doesn't happen. And if it's written down, it may not happen. But it's got to be written down to happen. So for that reason alone, I write a lot of stuff down. And
yeah.
But anyway, but thank you so very much, Carl. Really appreciate that.
All right. Thank you, Red. Reliably achieve big goals faster. Thank you for your conversation today.
Catch y'all later on. Red O'Laughlin here very shortly in about 15 minutes. I'm going to be on Talking Heads on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. We're talking about weight management, which sort of implies losing weight, but I'm looking at it from a scientific perspective. What actually happens scientifically, chemically in the body that causes fat to go into a fat cell, what causes fat to come out of a fat cell, what causes fat to burn, and what stops fat from burning. If you keep the fat in your fat cells and you're not allowing it to burn, you can't expect to lose weight, lose inches, lose fat. So anyway, that's what we're talking about. And today I'm really concentrating on some of the myths and facts of what exactly happens when you say, do this and you lose 6 pounds in the next 6 days or 30 pounds in the next 30 days. A lot of things out there, a lot of confusion. But anyway, so with that being said, I'm Red O'Laughlin on the Wise Ones on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. Catch you next week. Take care. Bye, y'all.